Hemshek Samech Vav. Today is p.109 Menachem Av on Daf Kuf Ayin Ches Kuf Ayin Ches Kuf Ayin Ches Tashin Samech Ches.
Right, so we saw the Maskana at a Maima, the difference between Oyer and Shefa that I get to the Klolos Brio and the Klolos Isabes. And we saw that even though we don't, in the final opinion, we don't agree openly with the parties, because the Atzmus the Sibaha Rashina al Habrio, meaning Be'ezhu Derek, the Atzmus is Mamish Mokir, will be a Beder Richu Ma'id of Shaykhs to the Bria Beder Siba Rashina. Even though we don't agree with that, when I get to the Atzmus, however, we saw that the Oyer Hameya Mia Atzmus, like we learned in the previous Maimah that the Koyach ain't safe, is Me'iyah in the Oyer, because the Oyer is Me'ein Hamoya, and we saw the whole Mila, the Russian ain't safe. And we saw when I get to the Shittas Sapadi, the ain't safe has got certain great miles in it, the Shlilas Kolatoyarim, and all those in Yonim. The Oyer, which is Me'iyah Mina Atzmas, that is Mahavada Oyelames, and we saw here that that's only V'derach Siva, or not V'derach Kiruv, not V'derach Mokir HaKorev El Ha'elamet. So we saw that at least per Prateh, we Amakayim, the Shitta, which we brought down, but Shema Parles, that you can't say that the Etzem Mokir Amiti, which in this case is not the Atzmas of El Chaponim, it's the Oyer, which is Ma'iyah Mina Atzmas, albeit it's only a Ha'ora with all the Yonin that we saw here, but it's Me'ein Hamoya, and therefore what is Mahaver, the elements, BMS is the Oyer. However, we saw that the Oyer remains Mudal, a Gamri from the Mekabrin from the elements, and therefore it's only a Sibala Vav. And we saw that the Liyesh Beginnes Mokia Mamish Lahavis is our elements. For that we came to the Madrega of Shefa. And we saw that that's in the Tefis of Islabshas. But the Oyer Liyesh Beginnes Giloi Ha'etzem, like we saw me Ein Ha'etzem, Ein Ha'or Beginnes Tefis of Islabshas, Elo Beginnes Siba Bilvad Elo elements, and we sent to the Maimah later on in the Hemshech here, Odom Kiyah Ba'el B'Sorah to Pasha Tazriya. Matzera, quite a bit later on in the Hemshech. Mashu B'chinas Mokya B'chinas Kiruv Hu B'derech Ha'oyer Sha'acha Hatzimto. In other words, after the Oyer Amiti, what that's the Oyer Ameya Mina Atzmas, which is Mamish Me'ein Hamoya, well, that undergoes the Helam Hatzimtum, retreats Lagamre into Helam Vizkalos, the Atzmas, and it's only Alidei the Kav, the Oyer HaKav, which is Oyer Metzumtzum Me'ein, and that's Oyer which is already shot to the Inyan HaGvul, that's Me'ir in the Cholo, as it were, after the Tzimtzum. And that's the Inyan of Mokya Elo Elames, and the Amitias Ashpa at a Kav Ishat Mamali Kolaumin Shefa, or that the Inyan how the earth comes be slabshas in the elements. So Lefize, we see that we got in Emerson what you might call two factors, Ikodium, very principal factors in the whole Hisavas, Oyer and Shefa. And it's not just that the Ike that we want to bring out as the Inyan from Oyer, but Shefa is just another Madrega Mofia Beloshen, how do you call it, the Loshen HaChikrim HaRishayim V'chulu, No, the Inyan von Shefa is a Inyan Amiti in the whole hierarchy of the Giluyim, from the Eibus to the whole Yachas of the Giluyim, and the Ikim Moker HaKorev to the Inyan HaOlamus is Taka Shefa. So we need to understand what we pointed out at the end of last week's year, yesterday's year, I'm sorry. That's a door ha'ma'ira tzumas lev, or ma'ira, what you might call tmiho, surprise or wonder. What are these two inyonim in the bria? I mean, either the oyer is mahave or the shefa is mahave. It was two inyonim, two dargis in the etzem ha'isavets. So what we'll do is we'll learn a little bit now in the maskana of the teretz in the shilas as they occurred at the beginning of the Maimah, and Mikoyach there we'll maybe be able to suggest a few lines of thought when I get to that principal shaila. Al p.109 yuvan, in light of everything we said, mashukosu zeis chukasa Torah, as we sort of, even though this was Parsha Tisah, it was the Shabbos after Purim in those days, but it was the Inyan from Parshas Chukas, therefore the Iker Maimah was based on the Kriya of the Parsha Chukas, Reis Chukas HaTorah. And we saw the Isa Medrash we brought down at the beginning. What was the Lashon Chukas HaTorah? So we brought down a Lashon of the Medrash Chukas, is being taken more into a plural form. Chukais shebohem chokakti shomayim v'oretz. And so we were medactic at the beginning. What does it mean that the Eibishter was choikek shomayim v'oretz? The word choikek means to engrave, to file or chop something into a basis, like for example to engrave letters on a stone or on a beautiful stone or on some surface, which causes them to become, or cause you to make a form of impression inside the etzem, which is the basis. So what is Shat to say about the Inyan of Shamayim va'oretz, and the Alter Rebbe being L'Kutei Torah over there in Parshas Chukas, in the Maimonim, where he deals with the Inyan from Chukas HaTorah, the Inyan from Porah Duma, he brings this lesson of the Medrash, and he says, the simple pshat of the Lashon Chukas Shamayim va'oretz means the hanhoga is the way I created the world, the way it runs itself, the way the world runs itself, the way it conducts itself, with all the inyonim of the bria, the teva, and the proteha, hanhoga of the bria. Was it a taisha we call chukais? Yeah, we call it literally the bria functions through inyonim which are chukais, which is from Lashon, which is Lashon, hakika. So he said that the inyan of chukais shamayim va'oretz hu b'chinas oyer ein sei. Klolos kavana of the medrash b'pnimis ha'inyonim, when it says chukais shamayim va'oretz, is referring to oyer ein sei. In other words, to the oyer hameya mi'atzmas, like we call it the oyer mi'ain hamoya. That's what we mean by chukais shamayim va'oretz. So what's that got to do with it? The bria shamayim, brias shamayim va'oretz, liya is b'chinas bria mamish, that it should be creation in the simple sense. B'chinas islabshus, yeah, with the inyan of the islabshus oirish b'kelim. And when we saw, like we spoke last night, that when you mahava something, then there's two opposites. There has to be the etzem hishavas of the inyan yesh mi'ayin, but there has to also be the presence the whole time of the islabshus of the koyach hapoel ba nifal, that you have to have the etzem koyach to brought about the creation the whole time in a state of his islabshus v'kiruv. Otherwise it's not going to be able to exist. I feel l'rega echad k'mavu at the beginning of Shara Yehuva Emunah, like we pointed out last night at great length. So there he said that mamish b'finas yislapshus ki'inyan bereshis boro. Like we see that the Torah begins bereshis Bara, and the word bara means precisely that. The word bara means that the Creator is busy and enters and makes the creation b'derech kibur. You can't say that somebody creates, or that there's a possibility of using the word bara by just being at a distance and to saying it's going to happen. Wherever you use the word bara, you mean there was an activity on the part of the borei to bring about the bria. So therefore, the inyan and the lashon of the Torah, Bereshis bara, implies this idea that there is a inyan kiru b'derech is lapshus. Ganas u'pchinas yesh mamish. It becomes an inyan yesh in the real sense through the busyness of the boirei to the nira, that he becomes mamish, an existing entity which feels himself as an entity. Well, that's inyan yesh. Zeo mipchina shefa davke. That comes precisely from the level called shefa. Amal bepchinas oyer hu shehu bepchinas sibor. I'm sorry, sibor aisavas mitzad madrega zu ein bepchinas matzias yesh mamish ki im bepchinas chakika la. So he said that the inyan of the oil, or that it's only a sibur to the Yisavas, the mitzat madrega of the oil, then the nivra is not of a matzias of yesh mamish, ki im b'chinas chakika levad. No, he's in a state of engravement. How do you call it? Chakika. In other words, he is aware of himself only as being part of the makir. In other words, just like the oases which are engraved in the stone, then they're not something separate from the stone. On the contrary, they're part of the materials of the stone. So the inyan from bria, how it comes from the oil, is in such a way that the nivroim feel themselves to be betelim v'niklolim in the eloki, and they're betelim, they're mamish in the eloki. Inyan golivka Galifu, and like the famous lashon of the Zohar Kodesh, Galivka, Galifu. But no doubt you're familiar, we've already had that on several occasions, but that's mamish the first sentence in the Zohar Kodesh per se. But the Zohar Kodesh is made up, first of all, along what's called Hakdoma. The Hakdoma is Zohar. That's probably 16 or 18 to 20 blot of the Hakdoma. And then the Etzem Zohar begins with the famous lashon, Bereish Hurmanas Demalko Golif Golifu B'Tihiru Iloah. That's the first sentence in the actual Zohar per se. Mamir is well known, the famous Piyur B'Zohar, Kama Drusha considers Bereish Hurmanas at the beginning of the Rotzain. Hurmana in Gemara also means Rishus, like permission, or giving permission for. Hurmanasa in the lashon of the Zohar Kodesh means the idea of will, rotten, but it means an unobliged will. It's like a reshus. It didn't have to be, but that's the way it is. In other words, to indicate that the rotzen lamaila by the Eibush is not bedimian to the rotzen how it is by a mensch. A mensch wants things because he's lacking things, so that's why he wants them. And the inyan of the rotzen is to be mamale chisreina, or to be mamale mevukoshe, what he wants and what he's searching for. Well, that's inyan of rotzen. Of lamaila we can't say that, and therefore we call the rotzen lamaila humana or humanasa, and humanasa means the idea of reshus. In other words, he didn't have to want, but he wanted. He gave permission, as a word, to want. Bereish at the highest point in that rotzen. Then there was Galifu B'Tehiru Ilah, and the most high shining. Tehiru means the idea of light, literally shining light, luminescence, you might say. In the highest luminescence, there was already a Galifu. There was an engravement. An engravement was made in the high, how do you call it, the high luminescence. That's a simple translation of that famous statement in the Zohar Kodesh. So Kumt again, Siddur explains that what does that mean? That the beginning of the Rotzen, at the Eibishter, and Bereish Humanas at the Malchus, not Stam in Rotzen, no, in the higher Madregas in Rotzen, even before they become Mamish Bria Vapoyo, there was already an appearance of what's later going to be the Indian of the Matthias Anivroim. In other words, that there was already like an engravement. But according to certain Pirushim, that's referring to the Kalim, the beginning of the Kalim. And referring to others, it's only beginning of there being a permission for a lower level in Rotzen instead of the higher level in Rotzen. Of actually here, what it means is that in the high luminescence of Hashem, there was already the appearance of a certain darkness in the lightness. What that is beginning to indicate the allowance of what Hashem is making, that is going to be a koya from Him, which is going to bring about the limited thing, not the unlimited. And that's the beginning. The first thing is that it's still in a state of engravement. It's not a separate Matthias, it's still kalul, and it indicates how that power to bring about the separate Matthias is kalul v'bottle in the Eivishtan. That's what's important for our purposes. And one of the mashalim on that in Chassidus is what's called the chosim shebe'evan toiv. If you have a very shining Evan Toiv, once upon a time in the old days kings used to have it. They used to seal their stamp, they had to put their seal on something, and it used to be wax. So they used to have like a seal, it was a beautiful ring or something, some Evan that was so, shining and so powerful that you couldn't even look at it. Miroiva Bahiras and so on. Dafki and that, they used to make they used to engrave their signature, and then they would drop it into the wax, and it would cause the appearance of their signature in the wax. So it's brought down in citizen. When you just look at that Evan Tiv, Mirochaik, all you see is the shiningness of the Evan Tiv. But if you get a bit closer, then you notice that where the oases have been hakuk in that Evan Tiv, there's a slight darkness. In other words, you can't pick up the oases so much, Miroiv Behiras Ha-Evan, but you can notice that there's like a little line of darkness, or a little patch here and there of slight darkness. In other words, where you've already made a certain image in Minayu Bay, it's in the Evan and from the Evan, it's not separate from the Evan. It's mamish inside the Evan, then that causes a slight darkness. But that's actually the marshal of Golif Golifu, but the hero Loa. In the Emes luminescence of the apes, how he is mamish Ein Seif, there already appeared a certain beginning of the whole Indian, which would eventually be the Yesh. But it began first of all with Kalim, and then with Kalim Gufa Kalim, how they include him in Ak, and how they include him in Akudim, and then later in Atzilus, the Chais Mitzvot. They all include him inside this Evan Toiv, and that's the slight darkness that there is in the Evan Toiv. Well, that's what it means, Golif Golifo. Amamir, that's it, the Pshat, Chukei, Shomayim V'ot, Chiach Chukei is Loshen Chakiko. So he said that that's referring to the Indian of the Yesh, how it is in a state of Golif Golivo in the high light before anything really began. In other words, the high light of this B'tachas Hapshitas, like we saw Oyer Ein Seif, Mamish, with all the beauty in Ein Seif, but inside that there's already a slight trace of Cheshkos, of Chashecha, which is already the beginning of the Yesh, it's eventually going to come out, Begilui, Amish Alidei, Bria Yesh Me, Aye.
So is this referring to from like the Tzimtzum Rishon up until Tzilas say? Is that what this?
Yeah. We're talking about, we're talking about from the Tzimtzum Rishon down to Tzilas, including the Kelim of Tzilas. And then, of course, it also includes the Oasis of Malchus, which become the Shorosh and Ivroim in Elam as Biyah. Well, that's already a much lower level. You can't say about that Golif because that's already become a Matthias Nifredet. Here we're talking about how the whole Matthias of the Nivra, or Kelim, or Philomailomir Kelim, is still kolol or bottle b'teicha. So what you really see is the oil. All you notice is a slight. That's the Indian of Galifo. Hamamir said that. V'zehu Indian chukoi shomayim vo oret hainu ha'isavus k'moi sheb'chinas oyer shehu b'chinas chakika levad. He said, so we're talking, the Indian from chukoi shomayim vo oret is talking about the isavus, how it is mitzad the oyer. What over there, the nivroim, the isavus, is only Indian from chakika, golif go livo. It's not really Matthias. Remember, we've got two inyanim then in the Bria. We've got one inyan, how the Eivishter comes down, but there are Kiru, but there are Shefa, until he reaches Einim and he slapshes, or there's Pekalim, Afilo, when there's Bria Yatira Vasiya, and then the whole Bria becomes a Yesh, even Mamish Yesh. It fills it up to be a Matthias Yesh. And then there's how there's a Madrega in the Hisavas, how it is in the Maki of Shoirish, in the Inim and the Aposhut, and the Kalim and the eventual Nivroim are only Klulim there in the form of Oisias, Shabab and Teif, Golivka, Golifo. That's Chukah, that's called Chukah Shamayim Ba'oret. That's what the Medrash means, Chukah Shamayim Ba'oret. There's a Madrega in the Bria, which is albeit Shamayim Ba'oret, so it's Chukah Shamayim Ba'oret. And that's the Inim and Oyer. That's only a sibur to what is ultimately the etzem creation of an etzem creation, the shefer. That's even the slabshus of the Elikus into Kalim and the Nivroim, Bapoil, Mami. On that basis, we'll be able to understand the two inyonim in the Shema Avaya that we asked at the beginning of the Maimah. That's written, Vaidaba Hashem Shemavaya El Moshe Laimah Zois Chukas HaTorah Shetzivo HaVaya. So we asked what do you need the two Shemavayas? You've already been told the Shemavaya. Why does it say Zois Chukas HaTorah Shetzivo HaVaya? You could have just said Zois Chukas HaTorah, gone and said what it is. Was it the Tvei Madrega or Tvei Lashenas in the Shemavaya? So the Rabbi said now we'll be able to understand what it is that in the Etzem Misavas of the Shomayim Va'oretz there's two, as it were, in Yonim, and both of them are Hishavas. The Shemavaya is Rosh Mahave. It ever killed two levels in the Shemavaya, which are tied to the element. Yadua the Idaba Havaya Hu B'china Shema. Oh, Yadua the Idaba Havaya. Well, that's the beginning of the pasuk. Hu B'china Shemavaya the Chachma. Shehu Amedaba El Moshe. That's one in here. Zois Chukas HaTorah Shetzivo HaVaya Hainu B'china Shem HaVaya Sheba'atzmas Ein Tzeif Shelivnei HaTzimtzum B'chinas Ein Tzeif Mami Ein Tzeif in the simple sense, but that's Tzivo HaVaya. To me shown from that level Nimshu B'chinas Chukas HaTorah Shebahem Chokakti Shomayim Ba'oret is Nimshak Ba'oilam Gilui B'chinas Ein Tzeif. U'kamoisha Oilam Hasayin B'chinas Chakika Leva. What is the whole meaning of this mitzvah of Chukas of Paraduma? The whole purpose of Paraduma is that V'yidava Hashem El Moshe, but that's Chachma. Chachma is the racist Kol HaSfiros, the racist Kol HaInyonim Harayah, Yislabshus HaEres B'Keilim, or that should become a kli to Zois Chukas HaTorah Shetzivo HaVaya. And the Father El Terebi must be L'Kutei Torah over there. And the El Terebi said the word Tzivo, as we know already on many occasions, the word Tzivo is from Russian, is Chabras, that he called Kesher, his Chabras, Tzavtza, V'chibur, Asher Tzivo Havaya, or that second Havaya joins up and becomes Mischaber to the first Shem Havaya. In other words, that in the Bria, how it is, Mitzad Chochma, there's Meir, the Inim, there's Chukas HaTorah, the Inim from the Bria, how it is, even from Chukas, well, also the Indian from Oisias HaChakika, how they are in the Shoirish, or those are Ein Tzeif Mamish, or those are Meir into the Indian from Shefa, and this Mashiachai, with the Indian from the Elam Sadayah Mitzad, the first Shemavaya. V'hainu alidei Chukas HaTorah, yes, alidei zeh mamshichim Chukas Shomayim Va'oret. He said, through the Indian from Chukas HaTorah, then you mamshich the Indian from Chukas Shomayim Va'oret into the Shomayim Va'oret. In other words, did you bring a Gila, the Ein Tzeif, how he is completely a Maila, and how the whole Indian of the Bria is just Galif Kalifu, it's these Oisias HaChakika, B'teika HaBehiras of the Ein Tzeif, you mamshich that Lamata into the Nivroim Harayah Mitzad the Shem Havaya, the Chochma, that's only the beginning of the Inim and Shefa. In other words, the Eish Chabras of the two Madregas of and Shefa. we lezen in, usually come from them. So the answer is that then the world will be bottled, and the time even from Gilel Akus, that the whole world will be bottled again, just like the Oasis Achakika. And that's the whole Indian from Chassidus, is to be mamshik the Indian from Oasis Achakika Begolu. Therefore the man should be bottled to Elakus, and he should be bottled to the Emes Kavana in a way that he doesn't look at the Matthias Ayesh, he only looks how everything is bottled to Elakus. What do we have to do to bring about that bittul mamish papoil in the Eilamet? But the ultimate bittul is the Indian his galus of Melech HaMashiach, and his galus at the earth will be Bisman, the earth and his galus of Melech HaMashiach take it from Miyad Mamish. Therefore you have to be Megala, the Indian from the Chukais, the Indian from Oisius HaChakika, the way the oil is in Golivka, I'm sorry, the way the world is in Golivka, Levo, and we mamshik that into the Indian of the Shefa, Vidaba Havaya, Elmois of the first Shem Havaya. Remember, that's the Indian, Bekitsara, the Biu that the Rebbe gives here on the Lashonos of the Torah, in that Indian so as all the Shaila, the intelligent reader, it says, what we should do is at this kilo one level, the Bria exists even Kozeh, and then we say that really there's another level where it exists even Kozeh, and you got to be Machaber there. The ultimate purpose is to be Mamshid, the Bria, how it is in that Madrega, into the Bria, how it is Bezeisa Madrega, the Indian from Shem Havaya, the Chochma, or the Indian from Shefa, to be Machaber, the Indian of Ein Seif, which is Sibba Bilvad, with the Indian from Shefa, or that's his Karvas, a Kiru, his Savas, but there are Kiru. So also the Shaila, what you should do is, Brazier, Borer, Shemayim, they've created the word, that's why Mo, how do they say? One time around. Was it not really two? There's Azabri and Azabri, and you got to bring them together and they do each. Yes, well, if it doesn't bother anybody, we'll take an early night tonight. If it's a little matrid afachat, we'll just call it an evening, and everybody will say, oh, yours is great, I'll be able to get this and this. Got to mess around and chaffe shmuz and drink up sakave, So last night we already sent you to the place where the Indian is written, auch upon him, not in such easy oasis to understand, or it's written there, and that's in Tanya. Ein shum lo shaloi kosu Tanya. Every Indian it could possibly be, and every child that you can possibly have, as you do, is stuck in the answers in Tanya. I tell Torah brings that he wrote Patanya as an answer to all the shilas that he's not going to be asked to fill in Yechidus, because there ain't Zman there, but if you learn the Tanya, you'll find all the answers. Don't need any Yechidus anymore. That's they taught in the Hakdama to the Tanya. And as well known, nowadays we look in the Igros Kodesh, was a Zaydavental. The Igros Kodesh is unser Rebbe Melech HaMashiach. Once upon a time, in the old days, Chassidim, they didn't know what to do, and they weren't sure, and they couldn't ask the Rebbe, because it wasn't time, it wasn't Shaykh, it was. So what they used to do was open up the Tanya. Where they opened, that they'll find out the answer to the Shaykh in the Tanya. Tova Mafurasam. And it begins with the Indian from the Baal Shem Tov, was fallen on when people used to come and ask the Baal Shem Tov, what to do, what to do, that he used to open a chumash. He used to take down a chumash and open it, and whatever he found, he would look at the Pasikum, and then he would know what he's got to answer. So these inyanim were all been before in history. There are certain people that they like to make out as they want, new things and neue Sachen, the Mishchistim, eingeführt neue Inyanim, the Breakers, and the Zufrieden, and any Mavim Bezer, but it's an old Hanhoge by the Chassidim. To open up and give a cook, what schreibt the Rebbe? from them you know. So the Igros Kodesh is just a further step in the
Berditchever, didn't he do that for the altar of his name? When he went to the Berditchever, Rav Levi Yitzchak Berditchever.
Yeah, what about him?
Didn't he open a chumash or something to get the altar of his name? So he could daven for him when he went to prison the first time?
To see the altar of his name?
Yeah, the altar of the altar of his mother's name. Because there was
when he was taken to prison?
Yeah, the first time.
Yeah, I haven't heard that myself. It's was Chadash actually. Of the Rav Levi Yitzchak Berditchever, he was indeed Korev Ma'id from the Alter Rebbe. That's well known that the Alter Rebbe really had a tremendous iskashus nafshiyas with him. The Alter Rebbe said that one of the few people that he has avos nefesh is for Rav Levi Yitzchak Berditchever. The Rav Zushia and the Poli also said the same thing. So upon him is so it's very likely that because when the Alter Rebbe came out, when he got out, it's well known that he wrote 2 letters immediately to inform. One he wrote to the Baruch Mezbizah, he wrote to the Baal Shem Tov Zainik, or Baruch Mezbizah. Unfortunately, later there was sharp, not easy union between the Mezbizah with the Alter Rebbe. It was later, but at that particular time it hadn't begun yet, so the Alter Rebbe wrote, because he was an Einik from the Baal Shem Tov, and at the same time the Alter Rebbe wrote the famous letter to the Berditchever. He was the first, those were the first 2 people. In those days you didn't have faxes and emails and all this sort of thing. You just send a message. In those days it had to take time until he got the message out and he got it around. And so the Alter Rebbe chose the Baruch Mezbizah with the Rav Levi Yitzchak Berditchever. So it's highly likely that there was such a inyan that they informed the Berditchever and he went to be mispaled or Kaitzah. It's highly likely that Dovak is Kara. But however, it's well known by the Talmidei HaMagid and Baal Shem Tov and that they used to open Sforim. And the Baal Shem Tov used to open the Chumash. So it's highly likely that they also were noyeg Boifim Kozeh. And later after the Alter Rebbe wrote the Tanya, and then the Hasidim were noyeg to open the Tanya. And you can hear hundreds of stories about the great Hasidim. They opened the Tanya and they found the answer to what, because there weren't emails and faxes and cellular phones and telemedicine devices. Sometimes it was just very hard to make a connection in those days. I feel through the normal post, it wasn't close short that you're going to get if you lived a long way away. The father used to open the Tanya, and how did they say? They used to get their answers. Upon him, Lafi said, I don't know exactly how we're going to do that, but anyway, whatever. So Lafi said, it follows that, the Tanya, everything's written in the Tanya. So, Torek Mem Ches, over there, if you look carefully, the Alter Rebbe is Mataya Barichas over there, it's quite a long parak. The 2 madrigas of Samech Vav called Almin, and what he calls over there, were Habo Halbashu Vahislapshas. It's the same type of language that we have here. And those are the 2 madrigas of the Makiv and the what I call the Pnimi. So the view which comes out over there is that the Makiv is Lamaila from Islapshas. It's not able to enter but the Kli, the elements. It's Oimad Aleim Bevinas Makiv, or not Chas V'Sholim Bevinas Makiv B'Mokim. It's Nimtze B'Chol Mokim, like he writes over the Alter. It's Nimtze B'Chol Amakim is B'Chol Madreigas and Vilu B'Pnimias, but it's not B'Slapshas. Lo Bo B'Al-Bosha. Mashenkin, he said the Pnimi, the Dafki Bo, and he says that Pnimi, like the Makiv, has no error whatsoever, as it for the error for Mispor, like Gabi Bli Mispor. He brings it over to the marshal. No matter how many Misporim you imagine in Mispor, like Gabi Bli Mispor, it's just as if he won. It's corners there. And that's what he brings out. If you were to Taya Alfei Alofim, River of Ovis, like Gabi Bli Mispar, it's just like angels they call it. So that's the madrig of the Pnimi, but like Gabi the Makiv. However, when I get Linyon, he says at the end of it, even though at the beginning he's not Mishtamish B'Loshen there, but near the end the Alter Rebbe says that in Emerson, the Emerson he savish yesh mi'ayin of the Nivroim comes from the Ur Hamaki. The Emes Yisavos of the Yesh Me'ayim comes from the Ur HaSoivet, the Ur Hamaki. And then he says a very fascinating thing, the Alter Rebbe. He says, Rak sheloi hoyo bo'even, k'moi shehu achshov yesh mamish, im loi alidei, she'oil ze itztamtzim, bo b'derech ha'oil pnimi, b'derech hislapshus, b'derech al-boshe, b'tich, ilames. He said that's what causes the ilames to be mishaveh bo'even shehem achshov yesh mamish. And here we already see clearly that there's two Eifanim in his Shabbos. Aleph, that there's the Ine van the Elamas K'moi Shahem Mitzad the Ine van the Elamas. That's the Ike Yesh Me Ayin. That's the way you might say breaks the etzem ice between Heder and the Ine of something. If it was pure Mitzad that, it would be an arrival from Beetle, scholars in the air. In order there should be the Ine van the Yesh Mamish, has to be the. Now that's exactly what's written here. But Isias Acherim, and the Rebbe said that there's the Ine van the Savas Eilamas Eishahem Mitzad Chukei Shemayim, or the Ine van the Makiv. But that's Uyer, that's Mamish Uyer, and there everything is between us Beetle, Golivga, Levo, Pink, to see the engravement is there in the Evan Toiv Mamish. The aim was a call Hakor Samatias Klau as the Gamri Botel, and then as the Indian the which is Bo B'derach Shefma with the Deutsch, and he said that's Mislabish, and that's Kilo the Yisavas B'derach Kilo Noima, that's also Mahave, and on the contrary, it brings about what you might call the Shleimus of the Yisavas, that then everything of Shleimus, I mean the ultimate of the Yisavas, that everything becomes a yin for Yesh Mami. And that's Davki to the infant Kiruv of the Ur, B'derach Shefa, the Aino B'derach Kiruv, is Islabshas Davki, Al-Bosh is the Alter because of that. In time. Rafi Zekum Tois. We've got two, like we pointed out, two inyonim. The Yesh Leima B'derach Efshe, we could suggest that's connected with a inyan which is brought in many places in Tzedus. It's brought down at the beginning of the famous Kuntras, but the Rebbe Rashab wrote the Kuntras 8 Chayim. But he wrote that was one of the Kuntresim, what the Rebbe Rashab wrote for the for the Yeshiva Tomchei Temimim, for the Talmidim and Yeshiva Tomchei Temimim. And the purpose was, through those Kuntresim that he wrote, to educate and to bring the Talmidim that they should be makir in Yonimin in Pnimis HaTorah, and they should be rogil to apply those inyonim in Pnimis HaTorah to their Avodah. And at the end of that Kuntras 8 Chaim, he even says how to apply them to learning Nigla. The whole inyan at the end, how you're supposed to learn Nigla, and how you should use your knowledge of Pnimis HaTorah to learn Nigla. So he says even how to be medactic for Purif Rashi. But he says, you guys are not familiar. The Kuntras 8 Chaim finishes on a very interesting note. When I get to how they used to learn Nigla in the Bible, wie mit einmal geguckt in der Gemara, wie mit gelernt, wie mit medactic gewesen, v'chulu, which it's geleitet, maybe you should take a glance at that at some point, or I did. However, right at the very beginning of Kuntras 8 Chaim, the Rebbe says that the two inyonim in the Bria, they're called Choymer v'Tzura. Have you ever heard of them? They're called material and literally shape or form. Material or shape or form. And so he talks about the Barichas that the material, well, that's the Etzem Gufa, the Niva, the Etzem Yeshes, what we call here Yeshes and Niva. Well, that Etzem Yeshes, well, that comes about from Dibur, V'yadaba Havaya, B'dvar Havaya, Shomayim Na'asu. But he said we find other psukim that they tell us that the creation was made through the Abbas's will, and that is Kol Asher Chofetz Havaya Oso. Everything the Abbas wanted, that's what he did. In other words, whatever he did through Rotzen. And those state Bidvar Havaya, well, that's even Dibur. So make up your mind, either it's Dibur or it's Rotzen. So the Rebbe says no, the Mitzat Dibur is one Madrega, Mitzat Rotzen is another Madrega. And He said over there, he said that the etzem choyma hayesh, and the etzem choyma and the royal, they feel themselves mamish to be hayesh, and amatziyah, that comes from the dibur. He said, Ve'ila is what we call atzura, and that's what you call in Lashon of ordinary Lashon, shape. Oh, it doesn't just mean the shape, but it means what you might call the kilo the tachlis of that in it. What's it really all about? Apart from just being a piece of yesh, what is it really supposed to be all about? What's it supposed to be doing? What's its tachlis? In other words, that's called its tzura, its shape, literally. So, the Rebbe said that comes from the meaning from rotzen. Chayfetza, Havaya, does it mean from the tzura, ve'ila, the yeshes, v'choyma, anivra, or that comes from the dibur, b'dvar Hashem shamayim. Now, the normal reader, the intelligent reader, says pink verkeerd should be written. That the meaning from chayfetz, that's the meaning from rotzen v'chayfetz, or etzem yechoilas of the Eibishter, how he is mitadatzmai. That should be the etzem, to bring about the yeshmi ayin, to bring about the choyma. And even the dibur, the Eibishter wants to talk. Talk. That's kilan. That would make the shape or the tachlis, the nice thing is, as you might say. But the choyma, that's I'm told that I'm pink verkeerd. Dat is de pinkverkeer. En wie kan dat zijn? Maar dat is de eigen pinkverkeer. Dat die emmerse in en the yes comes from Shefa. And that's the slabse, sorry. And that's the very limited already. Where we should not just the meat is in with the yes, and the meat is in this, that's the kol yochel. That should be met the golef goliva, met the is in bittel a mamish natsum say. And that should be met the in van Shefa. So the answer is that we have to say that the Eibishter wanted what is the taich chayfetz avaya? What is the taich the word chayfetz? Or rotzen b'klal l'mayla. That means the pnimius hakavona. What are we really after? Ma anachnu rotzim. In other words, that a person, once he comes into Tomchet Tamim, who is your will? Well, he should just drag around, he should eat, complain about the food because it's not tremendously mohuda. It's better than other places. There's the charum drain and yes, and schmoozing and getting in and getting out, and every now and then say, oh, that's a nice thing, Rebbe Yeshiva, Shalom Aleichem, go to Rabbi. I learned a little bit off. I wasn't here. Myself away a little bit. We say, no, there's some very, very profound purpose and some very profound Indian that the Rebbe wanted when he made Tomchei. I mean, this Rebbe, nowadays Arab, that they made the Indian from Tomchei Tmimim. There's some Indian for Chayfetz. It's like a rotzen, a will, a purpose in the whole thing. So what would you say is the emes reason why the whole Tomchei Tmimim is there? For the first or the second way? I thought everybody would chorus with one chorus. You'd say, was that for the second in it? All you know, told it was for the pneumius and the purpose. Uja Vilman and the whole in it, that's why it's there. Somebody should just drag around and schmooze and go in and go in, daven a little bit, meditate. That's the whole in of what the Rebbe Rashab made on it. Those are going to the way he made it. Erefa, Kumtois, the Dafki, the Dakis, and the not noticeable thing called Kach. Those Dafki, the Amos and Tachlis, in Mamela, that's why the whole thing actually came about. How did the Rebbe Rashab make Yesh Mi'ayin? There was no such thing as Tomchei Tmimim. And you know what he said? It took him 10 years of thinking to even start to decide that he would bring about the whole thing. 10 years. Of a man like the Rebbe Rashab thought it all over. In my middle, there's some tremendous kavanah going on here. This is standards in Nagaya. Like you said, there's Nagaya in the Holy from Melchama Shia. And my middle, in order to bring that about, that you have to have the highest koiches, those are the immediate in yesh mi'ayin, to bring about what is the ultimate purpose of the year. What is the ultimate purpose? a ganze in, that comes mitzad in a rotzen, and that's the immediate Isabel. If it wouldn't be for that, there wouldn't have been any Isabel. However, we have to have that the yesh be a yesh, and he should be a yesh. That's part of the deal, because we want him to have an Itzoyin. We want him to be a yesh, he should be able to give away his yesh. That's a heck of an Itzoyin. That's a heck of a piece of work. Oh, that's all because of the tzura. It's all because of the ultimate shape of all. What are we really after? That's why we have to have the inif and the yesh comes above from the lower madrega. That goes through the inif and dibu and all the things. She gives that down in a way which comes close to it. And that's the amazing thing, that in a way the greater trick mitzad the Eivish, the Davki goes through the more limited inyan of Shefa, that he should make something which is a yet. Yeah, that's kilu in a way, a greater trick than how it is in mitzad the inyan a so therefore Davki in the Pnimi and Davki in the Shefa is a very great, what you might call, hidden trick of the Eivish, that Davki, his koyach ha'atzmi, is there in that also, because to bring about a yesh that feels itself a yesh and it lives like a yesh, well, that's a tremendous trick. To the emphasis that everything is bottled by Machia. There's also things as a yesh. That the Eivish does, so is dibur. That the Eivish does, so is dibur. And therefore we see that dibur is a very high inyan. I feel by a minch. Dibur comes from a very, very high madrega. Therefore, in the four states, we've got Daimon, Tzomea, Chai, and Medaber, we call the mensch Davki Medaber, not a maskil. I don't talk about Iseichel. Iseichel, Nishtos, Verlosen. Of Iseichel, you can't rely too much. Yeah, what you have to do is, what's he going to say? Who's with their zog? Mahu Yagid, and what's he going to give in to the create? When you think, you don't give anybody anything. When you're even masculine and you haskola, but when you talk, then you change the whole world. The same way, the Eivish, so Kumta is really both of them are tremendous powers of the Kol Yochel of Hashem. One goes through Dibur and brings about Choyma, that's a tremendous koyach of Atzmas, and then there's the Inif and Rotzen. And what is the whole Inif and Rotzen? Bittul. The whole Inif of the Eivish, how we use in that Madrega, is to bring a Bittul into the world. To make the Choyma become bottle to the Ayin, to make the Yesh become bottle to the Ayin. The Chukhay Shamayim Va'oretz means the beetle mitzad the emitis hakavana, and the emitis in the choyma, which is the that's the two madregas. That's the madrega how it is mitzad shefa, and therefore the Eivish made a whole thing called shefa because he wanted to bring about something that would be a mamish a yesh, and in order to do that you got to go down and, as it were, push him into madrega for yesh. That's a very great achievement, Kaviyachol, in our course, of it's how he does it in a way of kiru. We read, Umedaber Eilo. And you might say, he talks a little bit too closely to him, because he can let the message almost get away with it. The Eivish is giving me all this. He legs it in his pocket, and he's, yes, I'll do a teva. He can take it, it's all no more bracha, I'll do some mitzvah, over. How do you call it, arangulate in cash in there, put into his pocket. And I feel I'm only will say it, I said, this is my Dvar Torah, Hey, arangulate in cash in there, as they say, put it in his pocket. That's what can happen with the Inif and Diva, approaching him too closely. You can do that. You got to have Chukha Yishumayim Borat. You have to see the Tzura and the Inif and how it is. Golif Golifu B'Tuhuri Lo. It's all engraved in the Yetzim Ayin. How it is Lamaila. That's got to come down into the Shemayim Borat. That's got to make everything bottle. It's got to make everything bottle to the Mitis Hakah. Mitis Hakavona. Those are the two in Yonim. That's what we should suggest. Like I said last night, many in Yonim are misbayarim. The truth of the matter is that the whole of Chassidus talks on two levels. Misug zeh bekama subjects, bekama in Yonim, which mitzad, how do you call it, the Hargosha. Maybe most people have asked if we call Pnima Dako at this particular issue, they would say, well, when is he going to finish with this whole rigmarole, because we only should go for them anyway. He said, we won't go into all the other yonim, which are shayat, which are mistayef, mizeh, suffice it to say, how we dwarim mistayefim from this whole inyan, what the Rebbe's Maram is here, and that's Perek Mem Ches in Tanya, that the whole inyan is really on two levels, the creation, and the whole secret is to be mechaber zeh im zeh. And that's what we hear, and we find all over the Kutei Torah. The Alter Rebbe says, "Lahamshik das elen b'tois das tachtoim." To be machaber the das elen with the das tachtoim. And the ganze Masse. If I made that was the inyan of Heimanachamov, that's the inyan of the Arizal. That was the whole secret. The Arizal, the Rabbeinu Chaim Vital, so that you could see that the Arizal was a special. Oh, that's also in the Kuntres Eitz Chaim. At the back of the Kuntres Eitz Chaim, they print a Hakdoma, what the Rabbeinu Chaim Vital wrote to one of the books of the Kisvei Arizal. He wrote a Hakdoma in which he talks about. He talks about the Arizal. He talks things that he saw on him and all sorts of, it's mind-boggling. And he writes a whole sort of little piece about how he, what he saw in the Arizal, who he was the Arizal, a whole mass. Not color plotting, some of it. And he says that we can see that it was a special sending from heaven. You can see that the Eibishter wanted to change history, and he wanted to move everything in Yiddishkeit into a whole new vista and a whole new era, as he sent down a special koyach elokim min hashamayim. He said, "V'zeh hoya mo'erizah." And he says, "Me'yid alai," he said, I bring witness on myself, shaloi zoza Yad Eliyahu Hanavi miyodei kol zman shehikarti. He said that Eliyahu, his hand never left his hand, Eliyahu Hanavi, the whole time that I knew him. So how long did he know him? About 11 and a half, 12 months. The whole kesher between the Rabbeinu Chaim Vital and the Arizal was a few months. So you can see what sort of a league we're talking about in this whole unbelievable inyan. Al Chaponim, he said it was a gilui to change history, as they stated. In other words, it's up to now it's been a certain inyan. Now it's beginning a whole new inyan. So that's B'vadai that all the generations, the inyan of these chaburs of the Shah is mitzat chayfetz brought into the is mitzat surah. That was always the kavanah. Mitzat choymer. That was always the kavanah. To be mechaber the chuche shamayim v'oretz mit the mokeh ha'isavus b'derakiru. That was always the kavanah. But the Arizal came to show you how each and every one of us knows that and lives that, and he has to know that that is in the emes of the kavanah, and that's what's going to bring Mashiach Poel. The people will live with these in Yonim, and they will be part of their avodah, and yesh leima, that the ikar what the Arizal brought in, that you won't be bothered you're going to get out of it, what's going to be your reward or not your reward, what sort of like an aid you're going to have or not, and the other Sachen. Yeah, the Arizal said you've got to be in the avodah mitzat etzem ha'inyan of Elokus. That's the kavanah Elokis, that's going to be your inyan, and that's your simcha. That's your emes of simcha, and all other inyanim will follow. All the other inyanim will follow suit. And that's what we find, that the whole change in history and the Gilad Pnimis HaTorah was a new inyan where each and every person's got to be in the inyan from Pnimis HaTorah. He's got to be devoted to Avodah Savaya, mitzat the etzem inyan of Avodah Savaya levad. And the simcha has to be in the etzem minyonim. Akira, that's called inyoneinu, called tatliseinu, gilui elakus lamata b'zeh ha'olam, and gilui kavana ha'el elyoina lamata lasis lo yizbara dira batach toinim. And that's what the Alter Rebbe in Tanya, which is the development of the Arizal, that's the whole center of the Tanya. Lasis lo yizbara dira batach toinim, dafki to make the laws, the whole work. Dort is the Gilui and the Atzmus. That's how he comes to dwell in the world of Pashtas. Keep Shuta. That's in him. That's a whole Nakuda. One little Nakuda that you mustn't forget in Heyman Achamov is that there has to be Avos Yisrael. There has to be Avos Yisrael. Now the Avos Yisrael has to also be B'teike, but also unconditional, no messing around. Because the whole mass was the same at Heyman Achamov. The whole Inyan. But there was a whole bilbo in the Inyan for Avos Yisrael. And that's what caused the Al-Chaporim, as much as it's understandable, what caused the Etzem Stalkers. The whole mass was not informed, but there is a warn to Talmudim that they must be ba'achtas, there mustn't be any quarreling with the whole thing. The Al-Shmach say he would reveal to them a certain Inyan. It's forbidden to reveal it, even to him. It's forbidden to reveal it. Lamata, only if there'll be absolute actors and absolute. But if there'll be any Inyan of Chas v'Sholem Eipach actors, then it can damage very seriously. So they said, oh yes, of course, we'll only be actors. Oh yes, the Makabo. And he told them, he revealed to them this Inyan, this secret, the Torah. And then in the 9 days, Hey Menachem was in the 9 days. Dafki in the 9 days, there was a quarrel broke out amongst the Talmudim. They had a whole group where they were living at that time in Tzfat. And unfortunately, the Vibers in the Rhein and Dem, how do you call it? Moshe Tzadkonians, they got involved in it. And so some of the Talmudim begged them that they should stop, They said that the reason said, no. You know what it's like when it does. And the machlekes blew for a couple of hours, and it was very unpleasant. And after that, they resolved. He went into the shul and he put his head down there. The guys were uninformed. So they came in and they asked him, weeping, what has happened? What is sitting like this for? And the whole thing, and he said, it's too late. And a few hours later, he left the world. Yeah. So anyway, whatever. So we see from that how much is Nogeya in the uniform. Hey Menachem, the uniform actors and Avos Yisrael. Cholila, there shouldn't be any period Dafki in the 9 days. We have to be entitled to do everything we can to understand everybody and be, kusha to them, to understand them, and to be in a state of emes ha'ava, of emes ha'achtas, and build Yishum Sofik. That will add to the possibility of bringing down the Eretz Lamata, Dir Olei B'Tachtoinim, Mamish, and these galas of Melech HaMashiach, B'Poyo, Mamish, Omen, Keini, Hi. So we want to daven Mariv early tonight because I want to give a shiur. One of the shulchan wants to give a shiur. Something to do with the Hills base of Chira. So we all have to get ready to daven Mariv. On pool 9:30, everybody should be ready.